Thank you all so much for being here. This is our inaugural Read to Lead Live. So we're excited to have you all. Many of you are here because you are actually, in fact, playing Read to Lead, whether that is Community in Crisis, Vital Signs, or After the Storm. You're playing it at school, you might be playing it at home. And what's so exciting is that you get a chance to now talk to the people who work there. I'm one of them, hey. And then our guest today is Christina, and she will learn a lot more about the work that she's doing. So we'll get into that in a second. But just so I can ensure that you all know exactly how to interact with us, because your energy feeds our energy back and forth. It's unfortunate we can't see you, but we want to feel that energy. So on your Zoom portal, what you have is a chat functionality. Please, in the chat, say hello, where you're from, all that great stuff. If you love what Christina and I are saying, give us some snaps, give us some claps. If you're really feeling what Christina has to say, drop the mic. Just say, drop the mic, man. We love it, okay? The other thing that you have is a Q&A section. So please, when you're, if you have any questions as things are going along, you can go ahead and put it in the Q&A. While Christina and I are chit-chatting, we have another team member, Matt, who's in the background, who's going to be monitoring the chat. He's going to be monitoring the Q&A, and he's going to pop in, and he's going to be a voice in a face that you can see that's going to say, hey, so-and-so has some questions for you. Can you answer them? And then we'll go ahead and get that started. So I know you guys are really here to speak to Christina, but really quickly, let me just say who I am. My name is Kumar Thompson. I am part of the leadership team of Classroom Inc. I have a fancy title. It says Managing Director of Programs and Partnerships, but really all that means is that I manage the team that goes out and helps your educators make sure that you're having a great time with Read to Lead. So if you know Mr. Phil, Mr. Ivan, Mr. Brian, Miss Keisha, or whoever, if you know any of those folks, those people also work for Read to Lead, and they're part of our team, and it's amazing and fabulous. But enough about me. We are here to talk to Christina Oliver, who is the Executive Director of Classroom Inc., who creates Read to Lead. So before we get into how she got there and her background, we want to know a fun fact. And to break the ice, I'm going to just kick it off myself. So fun fact about me. I used to live in London, which is in England. Okay, Christina, what's your fun fact about yourself?
Awesome. Hello, everyone. I'm Christina. It's so good to be with you all. Fun fact about me, I was born in Buffalo, New York. Buffalo, if you don't know, is home of lots of snow and also home of the chicken wing. And another fun fact, it's only 20 minutes from Niagara Falls and Canada.
Oh, excellent. So I'm going to stop our screen share so that you can actually like see us. Boom, we can see us in all of our glory. So great. So I love the fact that you're from Buffalo, which is home of the chicken wings. I hope no one actually thought that buffalo wings came from Buffalo as the animal, but I actually know that comes from Buffalo, New York City. So Christina, I already said, you're the Executive Director of Classroom Inc. You lead our organization. So what's so cool about your job?
I'd say the coolest thing about our job, and my job in particular, is that I get to create learning games and curriculum that make learning much more fun and much more engaging for students across the United States. And I get to do it in a way that is free for teachers and free for students. So it's merging kind of creativity and learning together. And I will also say I have the most amazing team, right? Teamwork, you guys all know it's corny, but I say it all the time. Teamwork makes the dream work. So there's only 15 of us at Classroom Inc. And so we are totally dedicated. We like to say small but mighty in getting these and creating these learning game experiences.
We are indeed a small but mighty team. And so I think people want to know, like, how did you get here? So tell us a little bit about your journey.
Ooh, so as you already all know, I'm from Buffalo, and my family, I'm a first generation college graduate, and I also have my master's degree. So my journey started in Buffalo. I have loving parents who, while they weren't able to get a college degree themselves, really valued education. So that was a really strong starting point. And I would also say, shout out to my teachers. I had some great ones. I had some not so great ones, but the great ones really stick out, which is my teachers from like Mrs. Parker when I was in kindergarten to Ms. Morgan in ninth grade, someone who I'm actually still close with today. Those, my family, my teachers, my community, in many ways really propelled me to where I am today.
Christina, I'm glad that you brought up that you're a first generation college graduate, right, for your family, and that's amazing. If anyone on the call is also first generation or will be first generation college graduate, please just let us know in the chat. So I would love to know, like, what is it that you wish you had known, or what did you do to make that experience since no one else in your family had done it yet?
What a great question. I think what I wish I would have known. Wow. I think that I'll share one story with you all, that when I did get to college, right, there's always that question of like, is it the right college and all of that. And there are over 3,500 colleges and universities across this country. I started at the University of Rochester and I finished at the University of Buffalo. So didn't make the best fit decision for myself firsthand, but that's okay. That worked out okay for me. I was able to make a different decision and to move myself from the University of Rochester to the University at Buffalo. So I think having both family, but also just trying, right? Just getting out there, filling out those applications, whether having a virtual experience, looking at colleges, or trying to meet as many people as possible to find out what would be like the best fit for me, right? Some people love giant universities with like 30,000 people, and that's exciting. Other people, really would like a smaller college, 500, 1,000. The University of Rochester was much smaller. The University of Buffalo was giant, but it worked for me.
That's excellent. So what you really learned was that it was okay to make a wrong decision because you learned from it and then you made the correct decision. So let's talk about that. So you decided the correct college that worked for you. How did that play into your career trajectory and your career plan?
So because of those experiences with some of my teachers, teaching is something that I actually always wanted to be. So, starting in high school, I really started thinking about what do I want to do? What do I want to be? And the University of Buffalo, I graduated from there with I studied history and then secondary education, which means I could become a teacher in grades 7 to 12. So that helped me to make that. Obviously, I needed that degree to become a teacher. And then I ended up becoming a middle school teacher. So middle school is near and dear to my heart. So my what I studied in university was directly related to my fulfilling that dream of becoming a teacher.
Excellent. So I heard you say that in high school is when you really started thinking about, man, what's my career trajectory? Did you have any of those kinds of thoughts in middle school? Like, what were you dreaming of? What did 10-year-old Christina think about herself now, today, 2020? Is this exactly what you were thinking you would be doing?
So I think at the age of 10, and I would say it's okay not to know. I don't think I would have, I didn't know exactly what I wanted to be at the age of 10. It's actually one of the many reasons I love Read to Lead, is that we're able to give students snapshots of what it could look like in different workplaces. But when I was 10 years old, I had no idea. I didn't imagine I'd be making learning games. I didn't imagine I'd be working at Classroom Inc. And again, I think that's okay. What I did love is I loved playing video games. I loved board games. I loved being really active at the age of 10. So I would say, if I think back to that point in time, it was really more about, trying to understand what was available to me, and probably not really thinking about it that much, right? So that's again why I think Read to Lead is so great, because we can begin to present ideas younger for students.
Yeah, absolutely. So in the chat, I saw that someone said that they love our Be the Boss t-shirts. So yay, kudos to our Read to Lead swag. Loving it, loving it, loving it. But it's important. Why is it so important that we empower students to be the boss?
That's a great question, Kumara. I think at the end of the day, learning is about, we want students to lead their own learning, right? And in two ways. One, through the learning game experience, we want to engage students in reading and leading. And I think it's important to be the boss. And I think it's important to be the boss when you're 10, 11, and 12 years old, because you want to learn and make mistakes mistakes early, right? Being the boss, even now, right? Being the boss at Classroom Inc. and making Read to Lead, I make mistakes all the time. So I love that Read to Lead offers students an opportunities to take on a leadership role in a virtual workplace, right? So you take your job seriously, but if you make a mistake, you're in a better position to kind of learn from that mistake. And frankly, you can talk to your teachers and your classmates and figure out why people made certain decisions that they made within the workplace experience. So being the boss is about leadership. It's about confidence. It's about recognizing that you don't always need to have all the answers, right? You just need to be able to ask the right questions, collaborate with other people in order to make kind of the best decision that you can in that moment. And that's important in Read to Lead and the learning games, but that's even more important in life. And so you can really take those be the boss skills, those leadership skills, and you can apply them to school. But I love talking to students who say, you know, being the boss actually helped me to negotiate between my siblings, or to to help my siblings not fight anymore because I have better negotiating skills, things like that. So there's value in the classroom, but there's also just value in life.
It's so true that our games do a really great job of helping students think through not only what they want to do for their career and what leadership takes, but breaking down that barrier between school and real world and making those connections. So I'm going to pull this back to you. So right now we're in the middle of a major crisis, right? March 2020. It kind of felt like the world stopped. The pandemic here, we're all stuck in our different homes. Some of us are able to go back to school. Some of us are doing remote learning. Some of us are doing a combination, and we're just trying to work it out. So what was it like being the leader of Classroom Inc. during such unprecedented times?
So first I've only been the executive director at Classroom Inc. for a little bit over a year. So I was about 6 or 7 months into being the boss when COVID-19 affected us. And because we were based in New York City, it affected us obviously in many ways earlier. What was it like? It was stressful. I mean, to be honest, it was completely stressful. But the great news was for us, or the thing that made it a little bit easier, is that as we're a digital organization, right? So we're accustomed to working remotely. All of our tools are, digital. Our team has worked digitally. We're all on Zoom all the time anyway. So we went from being a 50% digital organization to 100% digital organization. And it was much easier for an organization like Classroom Inc. Than it would have been for probably many of the teachers and students that are obviously had much different experience. And I will just say I'm really proud of our team because we were really able to reach out and support all of the teachers and students who are making that transition, that very difficult transition to remote learning during that time.
Yeah, so we're really focused obviously on 2020, but just holistically, right? One of the things that we really value, and you can see it in our games, is the idea of thinking about the whole human being, the entire person that comes to work. Can you talk a little bit about how you think about it in terms of your own leadership style?
Yeah, I mean, I think when we think about the Read to Lead learning games, and as you just said, Kwamar, kind of the whole person, right? I think about leadership. I think about those 21st century skills. I think about those communication skills. For me as a leader, it is, well, I'll say it again. For me as a leader, it is all about teamwork, making the dream work. It is all about taking and working with an incredible team of people, which first and foremost, I'm incredibly lucky for that. But it's actually having all of us have a common goal that we continue to work toward. And these have been really difficult times, and we've all had to have some really honest and open conversations about the struggles that we've all been having. So you have to also bring the human into your workplace. You really can't, certainly not today, separate those two things. So if anything, all that's happening in the world has been a motivator for the team, for all of us, for Matt, Kwamar, and the entire team, to make sure that our learning games that show diverse characters, that support problem solving and critical thinking, that support those reading and communication skills, are able to kind of get out into the world to help teachers and students at this particular time. But as a leader, it really is about having a common goal, and being able to work together toward that goal.
So for any, oh, go ahead.
I'm gonna jump in because Zach J has a question for you guys, and he's a student, And he wants to know if there are any more programs after the 3 games. He loves getting to be the boss, and it's the best part of his day.
Zach, my favorite
Love
question.
that.
The thing that I'm most excited about, and I think we're all most excited about, is creating new learning games and new careers. And well, in the next probably 6 months, you may not see anything brand new. Our game plan is to create new learning games and new career worlds. And I'd love to hear your ideas. So if you have any ideas about careers that we should be pursuing, one of my ideas right now, I'll just kind of share with you all, is just thinking broadly about entrepreneurship, right? Thinking about all the skills that you need to start and create something. And because so many of the jobs that exist or will exist don't actually even exist today, right? If I was 10, 11, and 12 years old, 10, 15 years from now, there are going to be a whole host of jobs. And so I love the idea of thinking about how we can kind of bring those entrepreneurial skills, but I really would love your ideas. So please share your ideas on new careers, because that is absolutely part of our game plan, to develop new learning, new career worlds, as we like to call them.
Yes, and so just in case you didn't know, in your game, there is a way for you to submit feedback to us. So please make sure that you submit the feedback. I can attest to the fact that all 15 of us read through student feedback and have incorporated that into the game. So we are very serious when we say we want to build something that you want to see, that we can work on together. So thank you so much for that question. And that actually moves me into the next thing that I wanted to talk about. So this has been a bit of a rough time, right, for students, for educators. What advice do you have about navigating this new world?
You know,
And I'm totally putting you on the spot.
You totally are, but that's okay. No, I actually think, one of the most important things is being kind to yourself. I think there's a terminology now that's like self-care. These are not normal times, just period. And so I think recognizing that and kind of giving yourself the leeway to take the time that you need, where maybe you're not feeling 100% today, kind of owning that. I mean, not making excuses, but also recognizing that it's been really hard for so many of us, to whether it's learn remotely, whether your family members lost their job. There's just so many things going on now. So I think it is really about being kind to yourself and making space to bring a little more joy into your life. If that means just getting out and playing or taking a walk or reading or whatever it is that watching a show, whatever brings you a little bit of joy, I think it's so important to make sure that you're making space for that right now.
And I just want to piggyback off of what Christina said, because joy is an essential value of Christina's. She infuses it within our work environment. We always try to be joyful. We start our meetings with moments of joy. So that has been so meaningful for all of us during this time. So speaking of moments of joy, what do we have to look forward to when it comes to Read to Lead?
So I heard a comment earlier about you love the shirts and the swag that you see us wearing. We're going to launch, I'm going to connect to that in just a second. We're launching the Million Words Read Challenge, which is a challenge to all of the students using Read to Lead and all of the teachers leading their classes to read 1,000,000 words together as a class. And you as a class get to compete with classes all over the country to become a millionaire. And so I think you all know that when you're reading through your day at work, you're actually reading like a chapter in a book. It's 5,000 words. So it's a lot of reading. And we want to reward and recognize you for that. So you get badges as you play through the game. The Million Words Read Challenge is about collaborating as a class to read as many words as you can. And shirts like this, not this exact shirt, but shirts like this and a bunch of swag, all of that is part of the award and the reward and the recognition. We believe in recognition, yes, joy, but also recognition for hard work. And so we look forward to celebrating all of our millionaire classes in the springtime. So every word you're reading right now already counts. It'll already count toward the challenge. So keep reading now, and why don't you and kind of look out for the formal announcement for the Million Words Challenge competition.
Love that. I've always wanted to be a multimillionaire, and here's a great way for me to do it. I can read a multi-million of words. How exciting. So you guys can be millionaires at age 10, 11, 12, and 13. What an awesome opportunity. So I really just wanted to, we had some student questions earlier, and I thought there was one that was really, really good, which was, hey, I love Read to Lead. Lots of folks do. So this student said, I love Read to Lead. And so I finished a little bit fast before any of my other peers. What can I do while they're finishing up? What can I do?
That's a great question. And so I first would say, make sure you're reading carefully and reading closely, right? Rushing through our day at work, it doesn't make us a better leader. So assuming that you're reading closely and carefully, fantastic. But oftentimes we all read at different rates. So if you're finishing early, there's a couple of things I would recommend. One, I believe in student leaders, right? So you can help if you're in a classroom now, you can help one of your classmates, you can become a student leader and see if anybody else needs help, if they want to talk about the decisions they're making in the game, talk about their workplace tasks and get a little extra support. So I think that's first and foremost. And I think the second piece is at the end of every work day, we offer you about 3 or 4 questions to reflect on that work day, right? And so if you're finishing quickly or more quickly than others in your class, you can begin to reflect on your day at work. You can kind of use those questions to reflect. You can use those questions to write. So many teachers are using those questions to have a collaborative conversation with students so they can reflect on their day together. But I love the idea of student leaders too. So I would say student leader, see if other classmates need help. And the second piece is make sure you're taking a look at those reflection questions to see if you can kind of reflect on your day and kind of reflect on what you learned from the workplace that day.
I have one, so Zach has one more question, and that is, how do you engage? You know, he'd love to know how you engage with other kids in the game.
What a great question, Zach. I think the vast majority of the engagement today is you engaging with your classmates. So if you're in class together, I always have, if I'm teaching Read to Lead, I like to have 2 students sitting side by side so that they can actually go through the game together. They can read together, they can ask each other questions together. So there's kind of like a natural collaboration. And then I think other opportunities, if you're on a Zoom and you're doing you're in a hybrid or a remote learning situation, then sometimes a lot of teachers have been doing breakout sessions for students. When you're in the game to collaborate with other students, that's an area we want to continue to build out, right? So that you can actually be able to kind of connect and talk to other game students while you're in the game. Today, it happens mostly outside the game experience, and you're in the game as the boss on your own to kind of make those decisions and solve those problems. I love the question, Zach. Thank you.
Yes, that was a great question. Guys, please keep it coming. We only have Christina for another few minutes, so if you guys have burning questions, please pop them into the Q&A. And while you're thinking and asking, I want to go back to Christina's original answer, which was student leadership. I love this, right? Because a lot of times people think, man, you have to be an adult to lead, or you have to lead other people, but you can be the leaders of your own life. You can help your peers. So that's so great. You can be a leader right now. Like if you said, man, I really want to practice being a leader, you can do it tomorrow if you wanted to. So that's exciting. The other piece that you said is that you like to reflect on the day. And so I'm going to totally put Christina on the spot, and we're going to model what a reflection of a workday could potentially look like. So Christina, if you think back to yesterday or through this week, what are some reflections that you've taken away so far?
Oh, what a great question. And I think it is so important to build that reflection time in. Oftentimes we're kind of moving so quickly that we're not building that time in to sit and reflect. I would say one of the exciting things that we're doing right now is we're hiring. So one of the things you get to do as the boss is you get to hire staff, and we're hiring a new director of marketing and growth. And this person will help us to share Read to Lead with as many teachers as students as humanly possible. And so yesterday I was doing with the team, we're 4 or 5 classrooming team members, we were interviewing candidates for the director of marketing. When I reflected on the day, I really thought deeply about the 3 candidates that we interviewed and created a couple of extra questions that I wanted to ask them. So on one hand, it felt really good. I felt like I accomplished, like, I always ask myself kind of, what did you accomplish today? And what did you learn today? So accomplished, as we think of yesterday, accomplished a great deal on those interviews, and the learning really was on some follow-up questions I wanted to ask to go a little bit deeper so I could make sure I really understood the experience of those 3 candidates. And then the last thing I do at the end of a work day is I think about what I need to accomplish the next day, right? So what did I accomplish today? What did I learn? And what's the game plan for the next day?
And guys, you don't have to be in the workplace to reflect on your day. You could be thinking as a student, what did you accomplish today?
Yes.
What did you learn? And then what would you like to accomplish tomorrow, right? So remember that you can do that even when it relates to your school day. All right, we're at 1:30, so before we leave, we have one important, really, really important question. Christina, if you could go back in time and talk to your 10-year-old self, what would you tell her?
It's a theme we spoke about today, which is the be kind to yourself, which is I was really hard on myself. I made a ton of mistakes, as we all do kind of all the time, but I made a lot of mistakes when I was younger, and I was really hard on myself. And what I know now is that it's actually not about the mistake, right? It's about the mistake, but it's really about what you learn from that mistake and kind of what you change based on that learning. And so I think the be kind is also just really thinking about learning a little differently. I always just wanted, it was always about like good grades and I wasn't a great student. I wasn't an A+ student always. So it really is more about it's about what you can learn. So I would say to my 10-year-old self, it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to lose things and forget things and do all of that. What can you change so that you're maybe not making those mistakes going forward? And I think some of the most brilliant people on the planet, right? I think of the entrepreneurs and those inventors, they make thousands of either mistakes or just fails, right? They just fail at the thing. They're trying to create something and it just doesn't work the first time, the second time, the 100th time. It's also really about the persistence, right? The don't give up piece. So I think this is right. Somebody will fact check me, but I think Albert Einstein made like thousands of errors right before the light bulb was invented. And so I like to think about that now. I wish I thought about that when I was 10, 11, and 12 years old. I didn't. So if I could tell myself, my 10-year-old self, just be kinder. It's okay to make mistakes. Just kind of focus on what you're learning from those mistakes.
Great,
Christina, thank you so much. Matt, is there another question?
One more question. So IME class is, loving this, and they're so happy to see, Christina, a woman, a lady in a position of power, and so they want to know, how does gender play a role in leadership, and if at all?
That is such a great question. And while I will say that I know across the United States, gender plays a huge role in leadership. There aren't enough women leaders. There aren't enough women of color, people of color in leadership positions. I have been fortunate in that most of my bosses have been women and have been incredible mentors and supporters of my growth. So I've been really lucky in that regard, and I know that's not the norm. But I would say that if I think about just women and just young people and people of color thinking about power, it is about creating and continuing to make those connections, right? I think about the teachers and the people who I connected with when I was your age, right? When I was in middle school, when I was in high school, and those are teachers and community members. I was not a well-connected person. Some people have, lots of natural connections. Just making those connections, and they only have to be a couple of them, really helped me to propel me to kind of the next level. And in many cases, it did happen to be women, and in some cases, men. I've also had great bosses that were men too. But I think that comes back to just persistence and, knowing what you want and going after it, no matter how thick the ceiling is, just keep going and finding those advocates and those mentors along the way that can help to propel you, because you don't do it alone, right? You do it because you have people who are supporting you, managers, friends, colleagues.
That's excellent. And again, advice that you can take right now, making sure that you have a good peer network, that you're interacting with your friends, your schoolmates, that you're really looking and talking to your educators and using them as mentors. Christina, thank you so much for spending the last 30 minutes with us. There were so many nuggets, jewels, words of wisdom. Love it, love it, love it. Thank you guys so much for spending your time with us today on a Friday. If you love Reach Lead Live, and I know you do, we've got some more announcements. So let me just share my screen so you know what the next thing that we have going on is. Alrighty, and so our next feature is with Tiffany Norwood. She's going to be joining us on October 28th at 1 p.m. She is an entrepreneur, so you heard Christina say that she's so excited about maybe doing a game around entrepreneurship and all the skills that we can learn as an entrepreneur and a founder. So we have the chance to actually speak with a successful entrepreneur October 28th at 1 p.m. Don't miss it. Make sure that you, your friends, and your teachers register on your behalf. Send us questions in advance. We want to make sure that we're really feeling your energy and we're really answering the questions that you need and want answered. But thank you guys so much for hanging out with us today on this Friday. This is Kamara, Matt, who was doing our chat and our Q&A. Thank you so much, Matt. And Christina, again, I can't thank you enough. I really appreciate it. Bye, everyone.